Good afternoon and welcome back after a long break. I haven't been doing the other podcast. There hasn't been anything on TV for Justin and I to talk about.
Nothing.
So we're back after a long break. Who knows when we'll be back? I guess probably next week to talk about The Masked Singer.
Wait, you mean next year's number one 2019 number one show already?
For both of us?
Declaring
Yes. 2019's number one show on our list. Yes. We'll be back a year from now, and I guarantee you that will be our top show. But yeah, it is the Bitter Knitters podcast. My name is TV Attack Edition. Look, I'm so out of practice. My name is Jacqueline. Justin's here. It is Sunday, January. I can't do it. December 30th, 2018.
Still 2018. By the way, I'm not joking about The Masked Singer. That's
Me either. I'm so excited for that.
I can't wait. I know it's going to be such a disappointment.
I'm so upset. I spent like 20 minutes looking for spoilers, and there's none.
Here's what's interesting is I was reading a review, which was mixed. It was okay. But apparently in the review copies, they have sent out to reviewers, to critics, they have bleeped out and censored out and blurred out the reveals.
Oh my gosh.
So they are being so...
What about the people in the audience? Did they do that when people weren't there?
Here, I don't know, maybe.
Because how could you keep, even if there's only 100 people in the audience, how could you keep 100 people week after week quiet?
I know I've tried looking and I can't find anything. And I feel like there should be something out there. They must do that part with I don't know. Because they're being so...
the audience out, or the audience is all like bought and paid people that had to do NDS or not NDAs. And
I did see on their official website they do have a spot for audience tickets, which obviously there's nothing because I believe this was all pre-taped.
I would imagine. I mean, you can't have Christina Aguilera, who is clearly Lion Lady.
The review I read said that Lion Lady in one of the episodes claims that she's Hollywood royalty, which means she's not any of the people that we think she is.
Hollywood royalty would be somebody like from an acting family, like
it's Kate Hudson,
Barrymore, somebody like that, like somebody like
No, I don't know if I read
it. Body.
Oh my god, that would be crazy. I don't know if I read that correctly or if the reviewer, the critic, even wrote that correctly. But from my understanding, the Lioness says that.
Okay.
So maybe I'm wrong.
That could be like somebody crazy, like Tori Spelling.
Oh my god! I can't imagine her having that kind of singing voice though.
We would have heard her somewhere by now.
And I feel like what we've heard of Lion Lady with California Dreamin', her voice is good.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if she's somebody from. I almost thought for a minute that maybe it was somebody like what's her name? The singer Michelle Phillips from that band.
Oh, Wilson Phillips.
Well, that's her kids, but Michelle Phillips was in the original.
Mamas and the Papas.
And she was an actress as well, right? Because remember, she was in TV shows.
Yeah. Oh, that would be kind of an interesting. I feel like
I don't think she has that kind of voice either. That's the problem. Her voice is a little more smooth.
So that's Wednesday night on Fox, and I might actually watch it live, and I don't watch things live very often.
Yeah, same.
So that's crazy. So we each came up with our top shows of the year. I think we ended up with 11, correct?
I have 10, and then I have some honorable mentions. I found thought of a couple more honorable mentions.
Okay, then I'll add that one to my honorable mention. We each have 10. And yours is not in any order, correct?
I have my number one as my number one, and then the rest are and maybe number two is my number two, but the rest are all kind of mixed in.
Mine is in an order from 10 to 1. And should we do our honorable mentions before we do number one?
Sure.
Even though you might mention some of my honorable mentions, and I might mention some of your honorable mentions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with our first one. What was your quote-unquote number 10 of your best shows of 2018?
Castle Rock.
Is
this is best or this is honorable mention?
We're doing our best.
Oh, okay, sorry. My best then is Hill House.
Oh, it's number 10?
I don't have a number. This is my number one.
Okay.
Number one, it's too confusing for me to try to put this in order, Slack.
Well, do a not number one.
Okay, forget what I said. I'm gonna say then.
By the way, our number ones are not the same.
Okay, Insatiable.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah. So this was the Netflix show that everybody said was fat shaming, and it wasn't. It was about a
Not
girl
at
that
all.
used to be fat, got mono, and lost weight, and trying to find herself and her identity, and a daddy figure, and her mother, and all kinds of stuff, and these crazy things that would happen to her, and found out she was still a horrible person, even though she was
Horrible person.
skinny. Um,
Horrible person.
but I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was super over dramatic and ridiculous. I loved it.
It was so bad I couldn't stop watching it.
Yes,
I think I binged it the entire weekend, and
me
like every
too.
time I start a new episode, I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this, but let's watch
It
it some
was
more.
so funny, and it's just like, like just she was such a nasty person, so self-absorbed. And the guy that she first had a crush on, and then he became her father figure. He was not a nice person. He was just trying to, climb to the tops of the pageant world, and
Well, I think the nicest
and his
person in that
wife,
show.
and
I think the nicest person in that show was the pageant coach's son, who was still like banging one of the moms.
yeah, yeah. The best friend was okay too. That became
Yes, she was
gay.
okay.
Came out
Yes.
as gay, not became. Came out as
Willow
gay.
meets Darling Connor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it was good, and I thought it was a different kind of show, and I thought it was fun. And I mean, I didn't take it too seriously. Look, I'm a fat person, and I was not offended by any of it because
I
it
don't
wasn't just fat jokes.
I don't think there was anything to be offended about in terms of
Yeah,
that. I think that was someone looked at it and they in today's environment they got overly sensitive about it and without having seen it. And I don't the same thing happened with that I Feel Pretty movie.
well, and that's the thing, She didn't feel suddenly like, what I mean. It wasn't like a She's All That where she took off her glasses and she was suddenly hot and people liked her. People still hated her, even though she
She
was quote
was
unquote hot now.
a horrible person.
Yeah,
And we are getting a second season of
good.
it
I remember we were
on
so
Netflix.
shocked that was
Shocked.
happening.
Because the thing is Netflix like they make their decisions on not only how many people start the show but how many people binge it and finish it. So I wonder if how many people hate watched it like I did. I don't know if
Yeah.
hate watching is the right term, but you hate watching.
Like a car wreck, you can't look away.
You can't look away, and I finished it all.
Yeah.
I thought of putting that on my
You don't
list and
finish
on
a
my
lot of shows either.
I don't. That was my problem with coming up with this list, as I wanted to make sure it was shows I had finished. So there were some good shows I couldn't put on here because I still am waiting for the last episode to finish. My number 10, because I did things in order, is going to be Celebrity Big Brother.
Oh, this is better than some of us. That is on my list. Celebrity Big
Oh! You know what? It kind of came out of nowhere last year. We knew it was coming. It's been happening in the UK forever. We finally got an American version, and the cast actually delivered. It was a fun cast between Ross and Marissa, and of course Omarosa. It was really entertaining to watch the celebrities inside the Big Brother house.
And you had people that were like historically nice people, like Ross and Marissa, kind of coming to terms with having to be backstabby.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love. I love when the nice people turn bad.
Yeah. And in the end, though, for some reason, Ross got all of the
hate,
all of the grief and all the hate, and kind of letting Marissa coast a little bit, leading her to the victory. I remember when people were legitimately upset that she beat Ross.
Yeah, I kind of was too. I mean, I was okay with either of them winning, but I was kind of upset that Ross lost too.
Ross played the better game.
That's what I
overall, but I think maybe Marissa socially was a little better and maybe was able to make it seem like she had less blood on her hands. So I can kind of see why they voted her. But yeah, we should be getting in the next maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks from now, we should be getting the cast list for the current season, and that'll be premiering at the end of January or middle of January.
So excited. I hope it's a good season again. I don't know if you can ever top Omarosa. That was a shock. Like, because she had just came out of the White House. Not that she did reality TV. We knew she's a reality TV person. But that she just come out of the White House and she came out and she dropped some, political bombs. We were like, whoa.
Yeah, and I don't think they could match that. And I think that was kind of a big key to success. But we'll see. I'm interested to see.
Stormy Daniels. They tried to get her on the last Celebrity UK version, and she walked before the show started.
Like almost right before, right?
Like literally hours before.
Yeah. That's crazy. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that she would think about doing it. So I bet the very least that they have approached her.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Should be
I
good.
hope they do. We'll get to my number 9 since we know Celebrity Big Brother is on your list.
Right.
And this is a show I watched yesterday, just so we had a little different stuff on our list, because I feel like a lot of our lists will be fairly similar.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like it's a little overrated, but I enjoyed it. It was good. And that is Killing Eve.
Okay, I watched one episode of that. I enjoyed it. I just didn't enjoy it enough to go back. You know what I mean?
I feel like, yes, and I get that with so many shows. I think episode 1's a lot of like kind of setup and kind of putting you in the world, and then it's after, I think 3, 4, and 5 is where the season really shines. Is that those 3 episodes were fantastic. Everything else was good, but those 3 episodes were fantastic. Few shocking things happening, and it was a beautiful show too, because everything was, even though it was very overcast, it was all shot on location, and so they traveled to different places like Vienna, Paris, Moscow, Berlin, obviously London, and so it's really it was really, really cool to see. You can always tell when they're actually shooting on location versus on sound stages or in Toronto.
Yeah,
which is most shows.
What I'm happy for is now the actress who plays the hit woman, Jodie Cormier. I've been watching her for a few years. She was in My Mad Fat Diary. She was in one of the White Princesses or the White Queens, and she was in, oh God, what was the show I just watched her in previously? But she was in another show. So she's a fantastic little actress, and she's doing well. So I'm quite happy to see her getting some.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about her going into it, and it was a weird role, and it was a little more different, over the top than what I was expecting from everything I heard going into it. But it was.
Yeah, she definitely camps it up from the bit that I've seen.
Yes, and I was not expecting that at all. And I think,
like, did you ever watch any Orphan Black? She's almost like Helena, the really crazy Russian.
Yes.
Yeah,
I saw the first few episodes, and I think, I know what you're talking about. And I think that like, even though they're not on the screen very often together, the chemistry between her and Sandra Oh is very interesting. But
I was go back and watch that and finish it off.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the ending a whole lot. It is coming back next year for another season on BBC America and BBC in the UK, I believe, I guess. But it was interesting, and I've never been a big Sandra Oh fan, but she did good, and it kept me always guessing, and I like that. Yeah.
When you don't know what's going to happen is always the
best. 100%. And I try not to spoil things for myself. It's hard for me not to.
Yeah.
Because I like to be spoiled. But yeah, it's kind of nice when things happen and you're like, oh, crap. But it's good. What's the next on your list?
Well, let's go for I hesitated about putting on this list because I was too lazy to do the research and see if it was from this year, but I'm putting it on the list. End of the Fucking World.
I was trying to remember if that was this year or last year.
I couldn't remember, so I put it on there anyway.
I might as well, because the thing with Netflix is, like, think people are going to watch it. It was the end of last year, but I think a lot of people watched it this year, so that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the show from, this kind of weird misfit guy, loner guy in Britain. He meets another weird kind of misfit girl, and they run away and go on an adventure. A crime spree.
A crime spree. Okay, that's the type of adventure.
Yeah, and it was quirky and it was weird and it was fun, and I remember the scene like so. I don't remember a lot about it other than I loved it, but the scene where they're in that house they break into and just feeling like the dread.
Oh, you know what? It premiered on Channel 4 in the UK in 2017, but Netflix January 5th, 2018.
Okay, so it is a
2018.
Right.
It's a 2018 show. We didn't get here in the States till
Yeah. So that and I remember just like the feelings. Like I said, I watched so many shows. For me to remember specifics is very like low and hard. But yeah, I just really liked it. And I definitely wanted to see where it went. And then it ended. I don't think we're getting a second season.
Oh, we are getting a second season.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, it was announced officially back in August that a second season has officially been ordered, and they are making it. Which I know from kind of what I've gathered. I haven't finished the series, but I liked it from the finale. That is it. Like, it would be interesting to see
how he gets out of that situation. Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like it definitely looks like we should be getting it in 2019 sometime next year.
Okay.
That we're going to see more episodes of that show. So that should be pretty interesting.
What do you got?
So my number 8 is Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj.
Which I just started watching this morning.
Oh, really? What'd you think?
It's different. I like it.
It is different. I've
watched 2 episodes. It's good.
So I like to kind of explain this show as the John Oliver show last week tonight has a weird baby with a TED Talk. And that's kind of accurate, right?
Yeah.
So he's on stage the whole time standing. There's screens behind him, and he'll show clips every once in a while. But every episode, he'll talk about 1, maybe 2 subjects. And that'll go anywhere from what's the word I'm looking for? What's that college thing with people going into college? Oh my God. Affirmative action.
Affirmative action, yeah. That's the one I just watched.
Which I like that one. Saudi Arabia. Amazon might be my favorite episode. That was a good episode. And then Hassan Minaj is a stand-up comic. He's done time on The Daily Show. He was the White House correspondent host a couple years ago, which I thought was hilarious. And you said you just watched his stand-up show, right? His one-man show.
Yeah, I watched his Netflix show last night, and I wouldn't even call him a comedian. I think he's a storyteller.
More storyteller, yeah.
He's incredible. Like I've never cried emotional tears watching. I mean, you cry from laughing, a stand-up show. Yes. I've never cried from someone's moving story. He's very compelling. He has a very expressive face. His eyes are incredibly expressive. He's fantastic. He's probably my new favorite quote comedian.
I have trouble. Yeah, I have trouble calling Homecoming King a stand-up special. It's more of a one-man show.
Yeah,
and I think that's a better way to put it because it's not really stand-up. He has a narrative. He's telling a story. There's jokes there. It's funny, but there is a lot of emotion there too.
Yeah.
And you don't get, and like obviously in Patriot Act, it's not quite as personal, so you don't get quite. You get that comes up every once in a while, but he's still a fantastic storyteller, and he's always so fascinating just to listen to and to watch. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think if a lot more people, not just in America, worldwide, could watch even his stand-up show or even just clips of his stand-up show, you might kind of understand not just our differences, but our similarities too. You know, like I thought he did a really good job of kind of making people understand the immigrant experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's currently on break. I believe it's coming back. Just like I need my shows.
Yeah, I know. So I hate the break. It kills me.
Oh, it's painful. It's painful. What's your next show?
Let's go for a show I know you watched.
Okay, so it's probably on my list.
Sharp
Objects? Not on my list.
So that was the 10-part. Was it 10 parts?
I think it was 8.
Okay, HBO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Amy Adams, and she's a reporter in some Atlanta or someplace, and she goes back home to her small town because some girls have gone missing, and she's reporting on it, and it unravels the crime. But it unravels her own family mysteries, weird things that have happened in her own family, her mother, her sisters. And she's an raging alcoholic. And
yeah, she is.
I mean, every week we would talk about who's the killer. It's this person. Now this week it's this person. And I liked it. And I liked the very last scene because it revealed everything we needed.
Yeah, which is good, but I never watched the final episode.
Oh my God.
I think I was turned off, and I realized I didn't watch the final episode of Westworld. I didn't watch the final episode of that. I didn't watch the final episode of Horror Story. I didn't watch the final episode of the Jack Ryan Show, which I really like too. Maybe that's my problem.
It's a psychological issue where you just don't like the endings or saying goodbye to your shows.
I think that might be it because that's a trend that I seem to have is I just don't watch final episodes. I don't know.
He reads about them the next morning online.
Yes, I usually do read. That's true. So I know exactly what's happening on Horror Story. I kind of got the gist of Sharp Objects. I just don't what I need to be like psychoanalyzed, I think. Oh, emphasis on the psycho.
But yeah, it was interesting, and I mean it was slow paced, but there was some exciting elements, and I just for kind of like a psychological thriller that was, not the same old shtick that's always on TV.
Do you think we're going to see a lot more of the girl that played the little sister?
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good.
She's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting show. It was a little too slow for me, but
Yeah.
you're right. It always kind of kept you guessing. You never knew where it was going to go. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
My next show, which on my list is number 7, is a Netflix show that actually premiered this year, but it seemed like it was forever ago. And that is Everything Sucks.
Oh, that's on my honorable mentions.
Everything. I had to put it on this because I'm still not happy with Netflix. So I thought that was BS.
Yeah.
I thought BS that it was not renewed. So this takes place in the 90s at a middle school, high school.
High school,
Um,
yeah.
high school, and I really liked it because I feel like you don't get a lot of like mid 90s nostalgia with kids that age.
Mm.
Most of the kids in the show would be like around where I was in the mid 90s, maybe 1 or 2 years younger. So I
Yeah.
kind of felt a lot of nostalgia in terms of the music, in terms of the fashion, in terms of the language, in terms of pretty much everything. I felt like they did a really good job at recreating those mid 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had the awkwardness of puberty and trying to find yourself and having crushes and all those sort of things. But I hated the ending and made me so mad because we're not getting another season.
I know. And it also made me feel old because the couple that I liked the most was the principal and the mom
Oh
of.
my God, they were so cute.
Yes, when you know I'm getting ancient when that was the couple I liked
We're
the
totally
most.
shipping that couple the most.
Yeah, but then at the end we got the dad, right? Wasn't that how it ended?
Yeah.
One of the endings?
Yeah. The father comes back.
But you know what? The one thing is that I didn't like where that one nerdy kid was kind of most likely kind of take maybe a darkish turn. So I'm kind of glad we don't get to see that because I didn't want to see him make a little darker
Yeah,
turn.
that's true because he kind of had a school shooter vibe.
Yeah, and so I'm okay. I'm okay with that. Not seeing him kind of go down some sort of weird like loner goth type
Oh,
of.
and it was so weird when I realized this year watching Handmaid's Tale that this like little mousy character is that curly haired
That drama
hippie
girl.
girl. Yeah, the drama girl. I'm like, what? That's the same person?
So that's actually a sign of a good, yeah.
Yeah, she's a good actress. Yeah.
And I haven't seen. I think Lucas popped up on a show that is one
The
on my.
Resident.
It's on my honorable mention, The Resident.
Oh,
And he popped up on that, and you could tell he's like, "That's Lucas."
yes, right
But
away.
I haven't seen most of the actors.
No, I mean, I don't think we could forget that tall, awkward girl.
Oh, she was so tall and awkward, but she was good at being tall and awkward.
Yeah, we'll see her in like 8 years and we're like, damn.
She's 8 feet tall. It's
Yeah.
still awkward. But
I thought
yeah,
she was a supermodel.
no. But like the soundtrack was fantastic.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, throwing out all the 90s songs was awesome. I think we got Wonderwall, Breakfast at Tiffany's. It was really
I think they had, was it Wonderwall or was it Don't Look Back in Anger?
I think it was both.
Okay.
I think actually they used both. And I think Wonderwall was the one that they did the video.
Oh, that's
where
right.
he recreated the video for Tall Awkward Girl, and Don't Look Back in Anger was used elsewhere. But both songs were I believe are both used in the show.
Yeah.
But
that made me remember how much I like, because at the time I was like, I hate Oasis, but I've like secretly loved their music. And I was like, oh my God, I still love their music.
I feel like everyone loves Wonderwall, and I love Wonderwall, but I feel Don't Look Back in Anger is a little underappreciated.
It's so good, but those aren't even my favorite. My favorite is Champagne Supernova.
That one's okay. Of the three like big ones, those are what I call the big ones. That's probably my least favorite.
Oh, I like that.
But I love Don't Look Back in Anger.
Yeah, it's good.
What was your next show?
Okay, I'll go for a show I know you 100% did not watch.
Okay.
Star Trek Destiny.
Oh, I love that. No, I did not watch it.
So it's the newest, Star Trek universe show. It takes place before Star Trek Enterprise, I think. The timelines are all confusing. Before Star Trek Enterprise, after Star Trek Enterprise? Before.
I'm not sure, but I feel like they keep messing up the timeline, right?
I heard that the character from Enterprise, Captain Pike, is that the Scott Bakula guy? I know he's the very first Enterprise captain in the regular Star Trek universe.
No, I don't think so. Captain Pike was No, I don't know.
He's coming anyway. So, and I've been seeing commercials for Destiny, so I'm excited it's
It
coming
is
back.
coming back in January, I believe, in the
Yeah.
next few weeks.
So we had the story of Michael. She was raised by Klingon, or no, by, what are they called? Vulcans. She was raised by Spock's father, even though she's not a Vulcan. She was raised there. She's fully human, but she struggles with trying to be more Vulcanish because, that's how she grew up, and that's what she sees as the right kind of way to
Yeah.
control your emotions and stuff like that. And she caused some trouble to happen, and her captain was killed, and she goes to jail for it. And then they have to bring her back, and they're in this weird alternate universe, and that's where it ended. So I guess we'll
Oh,
see
that's
what
weird.
happens.
So yeah, we are getting more, and I think also in the next year or two, we're getting the Captain Picard show too, which is kind of
Oh, young
interesting.
Captain Picard, is it, or is it something
No,
else?
it's like Captain Picard. Patrick Stewart's in it,
Oh my
apparently.
God, he's like 1 million years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, imagine he gets Ian McCullen to come on with him since they're best friends.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
God, they could do like a holodeck episode where he's like Gandalf and he's Captain Picard.
But that would be awesome. With Destiny, I heard kind of mixed. I heard people really loved it, or people weren't quite into it. But overall, I think I heard quite a.
I liked it. It was very
Positive.
slick, very
Yeah.
slick. Which I guess maybe some traditionals don't like the slickness of it. I enjoyed it. And normally I don't like Star Trek shows right off. I usually come back a year or two after and get back into them. I liked this one straight off. So
Nice. So it'll be interesting to see that coming back for a
yeah,
second season in a few weeks. My number 6 is Survivor. In particular, this last season, Survivor David versus Goliath.
good season.
Now, here's the thing. When this was first announced as the theme, I thought it was going to be the worst thing in the world. I thought it was the stupidest theme in the world. And for the first couple episodes, Jeff Probst leaned so heavily on it. It was like, that means you're a David. That means you're a lion.
Came up with it or something, and he just thought it was like the smartest thing in the world.
Unfortunately, I feel like Jeff Probst is the worst thing about the show right now.
He really has kind of made it awful. Like, it's like, because he's one of the executive producers.
Yeah, he's pretty much the showrunner at this point.
The beginning of it, and he's just like, I think he thinks the show is more about him than it is about the contestants.
Yeah, and just the way he tries to bring these stories out, and it just doesn't work with me. And like, you have ball jokes, enough. But it's like, how many ball jokes can you do, Jeff Probst? But
that was the best thing he did all year was the ball jokes.
That's true. But he just the way he would be over the top, over explaining.
Like, he's like a psychoanalyst or a freaking like marriage counselor or something. Like, shut up.
It's like he's trying to get the story artificially out of them rather than letting it develop naturally.
Yes.
And I don't like that. I think I read recently that, I don't know after what season it was, but at one point he was ready to walk. And I think that's when they gave him pretty much more control over the show. I would kind of be interested to see what a world would have looked like where he did walk and we had a different host.
Do you think now at this point that they could replace him and the show would still do well?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's my worry.
But I feel like the Australian host has kind of come into his own, and I feel like he's good, and he's been on American television. So if they were replacing him with that, it's not like some total random stranger bitch. It was like, this guy was in The District on CBS 10 years ago. Like him. But this is a good season. You had a lot of good characters, and that's the other problem. I feel like in some seasons they've been casting not very well.
Well, they're so busy recruiting mattresses and bartenders. This is the problem. This is why this season was good, because they had people that watched the show. You had some nerdy people that have never seen the show. You had some pretty people that have never seen the show, but it was all, I mean, like, I felt like every single person was a normal person except for maybe the wrestler guy.
But even him, he was a fan of the show. He was a fan of the show. So I feel like that's different than your normal, we're going to recruit you. And it sounds like he almost wasn't able to do the show because he had lined up, and I guess with his wrestling commitments or some other commitment, it was in the way, and they actually had to work around and change things. So for him to go on.
I think the only person I know for sure who didn't watch the show was Hot Cop, right?
Yeah, I don't think Hot Cop was
He didn't
familiar
understand
with.
what the hell was
He
going
did
on.
not know what was going on. That was embarrassing.
That was
his,
really
his
embarrassing.
play was not good. But I feel like I think didn't they say in the last couple episodes that Mike had to decline a job or two to be on Survivor?
I'm not surprised. He's a huge fan of reality TV. So
Oh yeah, and he's already been on Amazing Race
we'll see
twice.
him on Celebrity Big Brother in
Celebrity Big Brother.
January.
I could see. I honestly could see that happening. Him doing the trifecta.
Yeah.
But so you have and really, that's the only way I find acceptable to get like a Survivor contestant into the Celebrity Big Brother house is that they're kind of a celebrity already
Yeah.
outside of that. But yeah, and you had stuff people like Gabby and Christian and Davey who I feel like wouldn't make the cut most seasons.
Yeah.
And I hope, and I know this is not, but I hope it's going to show like Jeff Probst that look, we can have normal people on this, and people will connect to them. They'll be good storytellers, good characters.
Bikinis. Like, I mean, you can have normal people. Like, people, when you talk about Biggest Survivor, do you think people are talking about some random girl named Tara that looked good in a bikini, or are people talking about Suri?
Oh, I love Suri.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
Rupert.
Really, no,
I don't want to see Rupert in a bikini.
No, but I mean, like, they always keep talking about how they have to have it in hot places because they got to see these people in bikinis and stuff. And it's like, is that really necessary? It's not. Get good characters, tell good stories. That's what's compelling. I mean, I like to look at abs as much as the next lady, right? But that doesn't make the show. If I didn't, Christian was my favorite. You know what I mean? Davey was my favorite. They didn't have to, although Davey was quite cute. They didn't have to look good in bathing suits for me to enjoy them.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like, they need to let the characters do, I don't know. It's just, I really like the trend. Now, I'm afraid of next season. I really don't like the theme of next season, and I'm kind of apprehensive going into it. But you know what?
That's that weird island, right? Where they live on an island until they give up or come back?
Exactly. So when they get voted out, they don't go to Ponderosa. They go to this island. And it's kind of like Redemption Island, but there's no challenges. So if they can survive the island and then they get a chance to get back in the game at the end and at the merge, and so at the end in the final episode we could have 15 people still in the game because nobody left, nobody gave up.
That little, if the island that they showed in the preview is where they have to live, that literally is like a 30-foot island of just sand with no trees. They put a little pit of fire there. Oh, Sister Patty, it's not Ozzy, it's Joe. Is it Joe?
Joe's back next year.
Joe is back.
Joe, Aubrey, Kelly, David are back next season. Yeah. And you know what? This season also showed that you can have a fantastic season with no returning people.
Exactly.
Which is good.
Exactly. But we'll see a lot of those people returning.
A lot of them will be returning, 100%. I think by the time we get season 40, next year, in a year and a half, that's got to be a returning season. 100%. Yeah. Even though right now, here's what I want to see. Survivor, Natalie versus Suri. Bam.
Oh, I would watch. Sandra Diaz Twine in there. Just get every bit. Why don't they have Sassy Black Lady Island and have all the sassy black ladies, and then throw Sandra in there because she's not black, but she's sassy.
She's sassy. That would be amazing. I almost made it Survivor Suri versus Natalie versus Sandra. But I saw a post of Sandra a couple weeks ago. She's like, yeah, my kid graduated college. This is where my Survivor money went. I'm like, good for her.
Good investment, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, so I'm not, I'm apprehensive about next season, but that's how I felt about this season. So hopefully, and for a show to be, 18 years old, to still have a fantastic season like that, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and they still manage somehow, sometimes, not always, to make it fresh.
Yes, sometimes. But sometimes I feel like in their attempt at trying to make something fresh, it makes it not fresh. Yeah.
Well, and the only other thing is like you shove Davey versus Goliath down our throat so much, and then within 3 episodes, you're mixing the tribes up, and it's a little disingenuous.
That bugged me. Yeah, that bugged me.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next show?
Yes, even though we probably could talk about Survivor for 30 more minutes.
I know, but we've only got like 25 more minutes, so we got to get
we're halfway through.
Let's go for Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies.
Yeah, so that was the show based on some book by some lady. I don't know who she is.
I I
I
couldn't
just
tell you.
watched it. It had Nicole Kidman, it had Reese Witherspoon, it had Laura Dern, and what's that? Shailene Woodley,
Shailene Woodley and
Skarsgård,
Kravitz, Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz. It had everybody, and it was basically you had Shaylene's story about her being raped when she was a younger woman, and her coming to terms, still being affected by that rape, even though she was pregnant and raised a child of rape, and she still loved him, was very protective of
The
him.
MVP of the show, Ziggy.
Ziggy, who's now young Sheldon. Um, you have Nicole's story. She's married to the gorgeous Alexander Skarsgård, but he's very abusive and he beats her, and she's trying to break free from that. You have Reese Witherspoon, who's just trying to keep her kid in school from the mean bully and having
just wants to put on Avenue Q.
and having an affair with the director of Avenue Q. And then, of course, having the right outfit to wear to Audrey Hepburn night.
Yes. And of course, you have Laura Dern, who has to deal with being the mother of a girl named Amabella.
Yeah, well, she brought that on herself. I mean, at first glance, you're like, what a stupid story. All these vapid women caring all about like their kindergarten class, like who cares? But there was a lot more to it. And it was really good.
Oh, but I was totally into who hit Amabella or whatever that was.
Well, we kind of told who really was the bully in the school because we figured it out pretty early.
Yeah. But it was good. And season 2 is coming up next year. Meryl Streep's going to be playing Skarsgård's mom, I believe.
And isn't he coming back?
How?
Flashbacks or maybe playing a twin brother? I don't know. He's the father of twins. Maybe he's got a twin brother.
Oh, that would. Oh,
I don't know. He was sexy, and even though some of those some of those sex scenes with Nicole were dodgy, they was hot. Sorry, sorry.
I'm gonna shift gears a lot, and
okay.
I'm gonna go to one of my favorite guilty pleasures of all time, which is my number 5 show, which is 911.
I didn't put that as a new show, so I didn't put it down. Was it new last year?
It premiered in January.
Oh my god, I would have put that as my number 1 show.
Yeah, greatest show ever. We didn't greatest show ever. That's one.
This is gonna be so stupid.
But within the first episode, when I don't know what happened in that first episode, but
10 minutes into that show.
You're like, I can't.
Talk about it. I remember on our podcast, and I was like, "Oh my god, this sounds so dumb." And then I watched it. I'm like, "This is the greatest show ever."
Every episode, they deal with 3, 4, 5 different It's like as soon as things get boring, they're like, "Here's the criminals," or "Here's a medical."
Crushed in an escalator.
Yeah. Oh my god, the escalator, the swallowing bugs or whatever that was.
Yes, the girl in the tailpipe. I can't even think of them all. There's just so many ridiculous things. The guy that was running from his lover's husband and died in the backyard.
And don't forget the porch pirate.
Porch pirate.
Porch pirate.
Yeah.
And so you get in season 1, we had Connie Byrne as the 911 lady, and so she would take these calls, and then the fire rescue would go out there, and of course the Angela Bassett playing the police officer would go to these calls. Season 2, we got Connie Byrne replaced by Jennifer Love Hewitt, which is a total downgrade, but whatever. Everything else. I will say that
she hasn't ruined the show yet, but I don't like her parts that much.
But I'm also afraid that the second half of the second season is going to be overtaken by her husband, her ex, who we saw in the holiday episode.
Not hurt Chimney. Is that his name? Chimney?
Yeah.
He had that TBI, and I mean, who knows? Getting hit could kill him.
But I also feel like if Chimney can survive rebar through his eye, or his head or whatever that was, dude can survive anything.
And I mean, if he can survive dating Jennifer Love Hewitt
and being in a firefighter man calendar,
yeah.
But it's just such a ridiculous show. It's always amazing. You never think it can one up itself, but it always does one up itself.
I love how you had Buck, who was always supposed to be the hot guy last year, and then the new hot guy comes in, and Buck's all jealous. I loved that.
Yes, and then we get the greatest character on TV this year, Carla, who they brought back in season 2 for a few episodes, and it's never boring. And every once in a while, there was, I think, a boring episode this year. I think that was one where Buck was trying to date again.
Oh, and that one wasn't that good. I was thinking the more boring one was the flashback to that lady.
Oh, that was not good.
Chicken, what's her
Hen?
name? Hen. Chicken.
Chicken.
Close.
That works. Chicken. That's what she was before she became hen.
But yeah, that was a boring episode.
That
Sorry.
one was not good. I don't understand why we needed that episode.
Yeah, to get to, because I guess we got to see her being in the business world and trying to fit in, and then
She
coming.
looked again the whole time I was watching that episode. I could just picture her being like Leslie Jones.
Yeah, she totally looked like a Leslie Jones character on SNL.
And I also felt like, oh my god, this is like the beginning of Hidden Figures. She looked like a Hidden Figures character too.
Yeah, it did not look like modern times. I
It
mean,
was,
this only could have been like 6 years ago, not 1992.
but it was, yeah, it was not a good episode. But overall, I love the series. It's just so over the top and ridiculous. It's awesome.
It's good. It's good.
What's your next one?
I guess I'll go with Altered Carbon.
Okay.
I know you didn't. Did you watch it or you didn't finish it?
I watched the first episode.
Yeah. So
Maybe
this
two.
is a weird sci-fi story about where people's personalities kind of get uploaded into these little discs and then they can get loaded into the bodies. And they take this guy who was a criminal. He's been they call it like a prison. He's been like in prison for 100 years and they put him in this hot body and he's got to solve a crime. And in the same time, he's also having flashbacks to his previous life before he was sent to prison. And I really liked it. I know another season's coming. The hot guy, Joe Kinnaman, what's his name?
I just want to shout, order!
Yeah. He won't be in it because his body, I don't think, is going to be able to be in the next episode. So next season.
No, and I think Kovacs is being played by Anthony Mackie in season 2.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And that should be coming sometime next year also. Yeah. And oh yeah, that's right. That Deacon Lockman, whatever her name is, she's also in that.
Oh yeah, she's his sister.
Yeah, whenever you get like a weird sci-fi show, just get her in it.
Yeah, but it was good and it was different, and I really enjoyed it. I like that kind of sci-fi shit. So
yeah, it looks like not only do we get season 2, they're also coming out with an anime companion series that's set in the same universe.
Deal with anime shit. Yeah. Sorry, anime fans, it's not my thing.
So I had a hard time following it, but it's kind of a cool style, and I kind of appreciated the show. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the second season is like.
Okay, what's your next one?
Okay, my next one is a show that we had season 2 of this year. It was also on my top 10 list last year, and that is another show Netflix canceled, American Vandal.
Oh.
Season 1, we had Who Drew the Dicks.
Yes.
So it's a documentary show about these 2 high school students trying to clear the name of this stoner kid who drew dicks on cars of the faculty. Right. And so the show got big and went viral in the universe of the show. So these 2 kids all of a sudden get contacted by all these other people wanting them to do documentaries to help solve these crimes, including a murder, which was one of my favorite gags all season long. And so they see a video of this girl at this like prep school, this private school, and they had the turd burglars. So they were eating all these, or people were drinking the lemonade at lunch, and all of a sudden everybody started shitting like crazy all over school. And that was just the beginning of poop.
By the way, crimes. I saw people sharing online and saying that was.
I thought it was real. Like, really, people?
Research.
That's why the show's canceled, because these people thinking these things were real.
I know.
And so so these 2 kids now are up in the Northwest, and they've traveled from home, and they're now filming the documentary.
And they don't know anybody. Like, at least in the season 1, they kind of knew people from growing up, from the neighborhood. So they kind of, I guess they had preconceived notions or who they could trust.
And they were suspects themselves. They were actually in the story. So this one, they're a little more on the outside. They don't know who these people are. You're right. They don't have these preconceived notions, which is kind of interesting in a way too. Kind of removes them a little bit of the story, but at the same time, it kind of adds a little different wrinkle to it.
Also kind of shows you too how your own biases can come into something, even though they're trying to remain impartial. How they kind of will believe somebody and not believe somebody else,
Yeah,
or
they'll
how
believe.
they'll see something a little suspicious and be like, she's been lying to us the whole time. And, you know,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting is the kind of the person they were trying to prove innocent the whole time wasn't quite so
yeah,
innocent.
didn't have hands clean. Yeah.
And unlike other people where they may have been coerced or blackmailed into doing things, to do things on his own accord, it kind of added an interesting twist to it. I thought it was good. I
Mm.
liked the
Yeah.
overall who the turd burglar was and kind of
Yeah.
um, the associates of the turd burglar. It was a good season.
Yeah.
Upset, not happy that Netflix is like, nope, we don't want more.
Mm.
It'd be kind of hard to do another season, but I didn't think they
Yeah.
would be able to do a season two
No,
and a
I didn't
season
see how
two.
it was going to work, and they
And
did
I
a
loved it.
really good season.
I
Yeah.
loved it. Okay, what's your next?
Um, you're gonna laugh, but I loved this show, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Castaways.
Oh my God, I forgot about Castaways. How did I forget about Castaways?
You're a fake fan, as my daughter would say. Fake
I am
fan.
a fake fan. Oh my God. Get out of here, Patriot Act. I'm replacing you with Castaways.
So this was a little summer reality show that they put on ABC. ABC always comes up with these really interesting summer reality
That we
shows
never see again.
never see again. They're cheap to make, and I always enjoy them. This one I found really compelling because it was kind of like, you're Survivor without the team, without the strategy, and they dumped you on an island. You had access to other people's or maybe yourselves backpack, and you had to survive. Whether that meant staying in one place or exploring or finding somebody else and teaming up, survive. That's it. No,
It was
nothing else.
really well done.
Yeah.
I felt like at times the storytelling techniques they used were kind of cinematic and they
Mhm.
were interesting. They used flashbacks in an interesting way. And as the series went on, we learned more about these people and more about their past and why they're there. And I do feel like it was a lot about these people who felt like they didn't belong, people on the outside, people who felt like they hit a wall in their life. And so they're going out here to learn something about themselves. And it was
Yeah.
really fascinating. And we had Robbie.
Oh my God, Robbie really was like the TV treasure of the year, like as
Yeah.
a real person.
Yeah.
Loved him. And this is a guy who's like very heavy. What was he, over 300 pounds?
I think he was close to 4.
Yeah. And I mean, he dropped so much of that on the islands. And then he came back home and he stayed healthy and he realized that
Oh, he's unrecognizable now.
stuffing food into his face to fill a void for whatever the void
I
was.
still laughed that in the first episode when like he was at home and the camera crew was just filming him like sleepwalking late at night and going into the fridge.
I get up and I just like eat, and he's just like eating, and anybody who's ever struggled with their weight could really kind of identify with Robbie. And he's the hero we didn't know we needed. He's amazing. And he was a nice guy the entire time.
Very nice
A
guy.
loyal, sweet, true guy.
And him and Chriselle.
Yes.
Was it Chriselle?
Something like that. Trishelle, Michelle, something.
Or was that, am I thinking of someone else? Whatever. The Nashville girl. The Nashville girl.
Yeah, the singer.
Yeah.
Beautiful
And
relationship.
Oh, such a good friendship. And I was so mad when I thought she ditched him, and then
Oh my God, I felt so hurt for him.
it was real. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about that show. That was amazing.
Care of her when she was sick and close to quitting. It was such a good show. And like I said, it couldn't have cost that much. I mean, the film crews to all their cities must have cost more than anything.
Yeah, because I feel like they were filming for quite a while too.
They were all during the eclipse. Everybody had a film.
Yeah, they were all filmed during that and watching the race car driver. Was it the race car driver with his mom doing the skydiving during the eclipse?
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff happening, and it was interesting to see, like, instead of people playing characters for ratings or fame, these people were really kind of being themselves. And you saw how people would be. If there was, some people would be very welcoming and share everything, even to the point of their own starvation. And other people are going to hoard it and be like, no.
And just learning more about these people as it went on. It was really fascinating. It was really well done. I doubt we'll get a season 2 because that's how ABC rolls. Yeah, that's how they roll. I'm still waiting for season 2 of Whodunit.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows ever. Never gonna happen, but it was a great show.
Yeah.
How many do you have left? Do you have 2?
I have 2.
I have 3. My number 3 we'll talk about in a couple minutes, and that's Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. So you have 2 left. What is your number 2?
The Bodyguard.
Okay, that's my number 2.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought we
yeah.
might have similar, maybe 3. Yeah, so The Bodyguard was the show. We talked about it a couple times on here. This is a show starring, oh my God, Richard Madden
Madden.
from
Game
Game
of
of
Thrones.
Thrones. And he's a guy who came from, was he elite forces or just a military guy?
I think it was elite. Yeah, I think he was definitely something specialized.
And yeah, Sister Patty watched it too. She loved it. And it went from him kind of being a cop to suddenly becoming like the number one protector of this important person in the British Parliament.
Yes. Yeah, and what's interesting with that is I feel like halfway through the show kind of took a turn, which I thought was interesting. You never knew where Richard Madden, his character, you never knew where his head was at. You never knew what side he was gonna stay on.
And seemed like on the point of like completely having a breakdown and killing everybody too.
Yeah, you never knew at any moment that could have happened.
Yeah.
A lot of British people saying "mum." Thanks, mom. Okay, mom. What about this, mom?
You,
Yeah, mom. And I didn't realize that was man. I wasn't the only one. I talked about my brother. I talked about this with my brother last week, and he said the same exact thing. He's like,
I remember you said that. You're like, I thought it was his mother for a bit.
My brother said the same thing. He needed the freaking captions just like I did. Be like, oh, ma'am.
Oh, you're so American.
And it's fun going back and you see all like the theories people had. There were people that were convinced that his wife wasn't real. There were people that were convinced it was a whole Fight Club dual personality thing going on.
Really? I could kind of see that. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting. And I kind of liked how they brought it full circle, bringing back characters that were from that first scene on the train, kind of bringing that to, it was really well crafted. I kind of don't think we need a second series.
No, I don't want a second series. I think that's good. The only way you could do that as a second series is have a completely different person bodyguarding a different person. Obviously a different person.
Because at this point we know where that character is. We know that he we knew that he
up and it's finished. I don't want to see him as much as I enjoyed him. I don't want to see him again. I think you're going to ruin it.
I think we're done. I think that character's story has been completely told, and I think that's good. But it was a fantastic series, and I liked it. I liked it a lot.
The suspense, the scene with him in that where I don't want to give away too much details for people who haven't watched it, but like the scene where he's in that little parkette and the police have surrounded him. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, it was so tense. That whole show was tense. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was so I didn't know what was gonna happen. It was so good.
Yeah, it was really good.
So what were some of your honorable mentions?
Well, I had mentioned Castle Rock, which started out really good, but kind of went a little bizarro. And I still don't really kind of understand everything that happened. Like how that happened.
Yes, I don't understand anything that happened with that show. And I think I finished it.
Coming and I will watch. But yeah, it was, I didn't understand how they jumped into different alternate realities. I didn't understand that. I have The Rain.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Netflix show from Denmark or Norway or wherever that was, and if you got in the rain, bad things happened.
Yes, that was an interesting show.
Yeah, and we're getting a season 2 as far as I know.
I think so.
Yeah, and then I'd already said everything sucks, so.
Yeah, so my honorable mentions were The Resident.
Yes.
Which was good. Dr. Shaky Hands. Yeah. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Love.
These are live returning shows. The Seth Meyers Show, Late Night, Atypical, Superstore, and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Okay, all shows I watch and love. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't know what my number one show is yet.
No, I can't think of what.
Let's talk about your number one.
So mine is The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes, amazing show.
Amazing. And it's kind of a weird, because like a lot of the shows that I've listed are not really shows that are going to come back. They're kind of like one-offs, and that's how they should be.
100%. Even though this went viral, a lot of people watched it. They're going to try. I would think that they'd be tempted to continue it, but I don't want it to happen. The only way you
do it is to tell a single one-off story of somebody else in the house. Do not involve any of that family.
But whatsoever. I felt like this house was so intertwined with this family, with this character, that you kind of can't do it again.
I don't want them to do it. Tell another haunting somewhere else. There's lots of haunting stories you can tell. Yeah. But yeah, you had the story. You had the story of the author. That's the main brother, Stephen.
Stephen.
Oh, Michael's the name of the actor.
Played by Liam.
Liam. from Nashville, and he wrote a book about what happened to them when they were kids in this allegedly haunted house, and he kind of racks it up to not even a haunting, but a lot of mental problems in the family. Even though he makes his life as kind of a paranormal investigator to disprove these things. And the family is mad at him because you told our story without our permission, you disregarded our experiences, and
it's not a
and they're all
family.
they're very dysfunctional. But even though there were some scary scenes, and trust me, there were some scary for somebody like me,
my God.
Scared, there were some scenes that were like, geez Louise, that
and
was
for someone like me that jumps at everything, and I watched a few episodes in my bed before bedtime, bad idea.
But the acting was seamless between the children and the adults.
Oh, some of the children were awesome.
That funeral scene where the whole scene was kind of filmed just like one off, like in one take.
Very long takes. That was
amazing. Incredible. And you still had some creepy scenes in that. Like, there's like a scene in the funeral where they're all standing around the body of the person in the casket, and you see the Bennett lady in the background, and you're like, Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Such a good show. And even if you don't like horror things or you're scared of ghost things, give it a try, because there's more to it than just the horror.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is more of a family drama with some horror elements to it. There are some really creepy moments. I loved it. Like I said, that was my number 3 show of the year. I thought it was fantastic.
And that I binged so quickly, and I worked, and I still binged that shit in like 2 days. I stayed up late.
I watched it over a weekend. Yeah. Okay, so my number 1 show of the year, it actually premiered back in March, so it did premiere in this year. Okay. And I can't believe you didn't put it on your list.
I'm going to be sad. This is going to be my Castaways.
How can you not? I just don't understand how you cannot put this on your list. And it is a Netflix show.
Which I love.
It is one of my shows. If you just want something dumb and something to have fun with and something to laugh at.
Oh my God.
Nailed it. Love it. Oh my God. Such a good feel-good show. Not feel-good show.
Nicole and Jacques, I didn't forget you. I just...
You forgot
Nicole. In my heart.
You forgot Nicole and Jacques. You clearly... I forgot Robbie. You forgot Nicole and Jacques.
They are also a gift of TV cinema to my heart.
So we got Nicole Byer hosting this. We've talked about the show before. It's a reality show with these amateur bakers. They're given these fantastic, amazing things to recreate, and they can't. They just can't. Jacques is this French guy who's a pastry chef who is kind of the judge. And the two of them together are amazing. They've got a great chemistry. And we got the holiday season a couple weeks ago.
I love how he's so, like, you look at him and he's this, like, very professional French chef. But you know what? When she says, let's skip, he skips. He
skips. And I felt like he was a little more jokey this year. And he's always in on the joke. And he's willing to go for the joke. And it's just so funny. But at the same time, he's really, like, supportive of the contestants.
Yes, so, and I feel bad when they're laughing at them, but you can't help but laugh at them sometimes.
No, my favorite episode of the holiday season was the episode where they had to make the toys, and they kept going back to that doll head with the screaming, like, ah!
It was terrifying. Oh my gosh, I love that show. It's so funny. And if you're ever feeling sad or down or you had a bad day, just watch episode 2 of Regular Nailed It with the lady making the donuts, and that will brighten your life.
And they brought her back for the holiday episodes. Amanda, I think her name is.
Amanda. She's like a cross between who's that racist cooking lady?
Paula Deen
and A Hug.
Oh my God, she's so awesome. And then you had that old lady guest judge that they brought back too, the one stealing Lois, I think, the one stealing all the pots and stuff.
Bader Ginsburg of cooking.
Yes. Oh, it's just a good show. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's so good.
Such a fun show. Such a fun, like, just put it on and enjoy. And with all the crap going on in the world, with all the awful stuff on in the news, this is a show you can just put on. You can just feel good and have so much fun with.
I love Nicole Byer. I hope we see like a million things. Like she should be doing movies like I Feel Pretty and stuff like that. That's who I want to see. I'm actively seeking out clips of her on talk shows. I watched a horrible talk show clip with Busy Phillips because she was on it.
Yeah, but she was on Seth Meyers a couple weeks ago. That was so much fun.
Yes,
Did you watch
so
that
good.
show I talked about on Netflix? What's it called? Like Fix It or something like that?
I watched hers. I didn't enjoy it, but I liked her.
Did you watch both of her episodes?
Yes, I did.
It was not a good show, but she was amazing.
She's so good. She's funny.
And why D.L. Hughley? Why D.L. Hughley?
I'm sorry.
And that blonde lady that lives in England tries too hard.
Yeah, she's not funny either.
But
I watched her, but Nicole is amazing. Please put her in any movie. I will watch it.
Yeah, why is she not in movies yet? But here's the thing with her is I find her, anytime I mention someone watched Nailed It, they're like, I liked it, but that host was too much for me.
They don't get it.
They don't get it. They don't get it. And oh my God, I looked up Nailed It to make sure it premiered this year. I was just curious, like, was it on this year? What's going on with? And on the Google reviews, people are like, I can't believe how harassing she is and how sexual she is. I don't like the host. And then one person is like, it's too much race for me. There's always black people contestants, and they always win because the black host picks them. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
Shit.
I just sounded like Amber Ruffin. What?
Shit. Yeah.
And this person's like, there's this million white people on the earth, and there's this million Spanish and Asian and black people. Why are they always so like?
Maybe because the white people auditioning are boring or faking being bad at cooking. F you. Okay.
I don't like how that Nymphadora, whatever her name is, like she changed her name. She's like, now just call me Tori. Like, no, I liked you better when you were Nymphadora, whatever your name was. I don't know.
So that was our greatest of 2018.
Yes.
We'll be back probably, like I said, next week to talk about The Masked Singer because I'll have to talk about it somewhere.
Yes. And it's going to be a spoiler alert for our best of 2019.
Yeah, exactly. We can take off next year.
We're done, Masked Singer. We're good.
And maybe I think some other shows start this week, don't they? So we might have some other things to talk about.
Yes, and I think especially the week after, but this is like the beginning of things returning.
Yeah, probably nothing is. But,
I did not finish season 1, shocker, but Orville comes back tonight.
Oh, I remember it was coming back soon. Okay, so I'll have the Orville.
I believe it's tonight, yes.
Okay. That should have been on one of my lists. I enjoyed that show.
Oh, yeah.
Honorable mention. Okay, so we'll end the show there. Thanks for listening. Have a great New Year's and happy 2019.
Have a good one.